In this video, we are going to be creating a stacked column chart. We're going to be creating a stacked column chart. But before we get in too deep into the video, what I'd like for you to do is scan the QR code and join my community. Scan the QR code and join my community. What is the community? The community gives you access to the free newsletter. It gives you access to the free webinar. It gives you access to the 5-day challenges. It gives you access to the list of Power BI equipment that I use, that I like to use, and that I recommend for my students, and much, much more. So before we get started, scan the QR code and join my community. All you got to do is scan the QR code, follow the link, and then all you have to do is put in your email address, and you will be a part of the community. If you do not have access right now to the scanning the QR code, comment webinar, comment WEBINAR if you want to learn Power BI. If you want to learn Power BI, comment WEBINAR. But let's jump right into today's lesson, the video of creating a stacked column chart. Welcome back to another lesson in the power of the BI. That's right. Welcome back to another lesson in the power of the BI. So you are looking at the you're looking at the report view, and you're saying, I am in the wrong screen. I just did this lesson already. And the answer to that is no, you didn't. No, you didn't. So here's the deal. The last lesson, we were looking at the clustered column chart. We were looking at the clustered column, which is what we're looking at here. But in this lesson, we are looking at the stacked column chart. We're looking at the stack. Well, not we are right now, but we will be looking at the stacked column chart. I just want to use this. I want to use this visual, which is the cluster column, to show you the similarities of the cluster column and the stack column and the difference, right? So, of course, as we remember, the cluster column, the columns are side by side. If you remember when we was talking about visualizations earlier, a column is holding something up, it is going vertical, and these are columns, right? So in this particular case, this is the clustered column, but what I want to do is I'm going to make this a little smaller so we can compare it against the against the stacked column, right? And what does stack mean? Stack just means it's stacked on top of one another, right? So here we're analyzing the data side by side. We're looking at line total, unit price, and sales last year. We're looking at both of those side by side by a date. In this particular case, we're looking at it by year. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a Control C. I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to do a Control V, and I'm going to copy this particular visual. Now, what we're going to do is, so this is one thing you do need to be careful on. When you have visuals, like for instance, when you are looking at this visual, well, let's use the duplicate. We have a duplicate visual, but we have a visual, which is the clustered column, and then we go over and we say, hey, well, what does the stacked column look like? And in your mind, you're thinking you're going to create a stacked column, but really, what you did was you accidentally hit the actual other visual, and then your visual changed. So in this particular case, this is what I was intending to do, but what I'm saying is be careful. Don't accidentally select a visual and then have your visual selected, and then you're looking at another visual, and when you accidentally hit that visual, it becomes the new visual. Now, Advantage Power BI, you can just go back to undo, and you'll get your original visual back. So I'm going to I'm going to use the same data that we used, which was the modified date on the x-axis, and we use line total, unit total, and sales last year on the y-axis. But I'm going to select stacked column chart. Now we see that this data is stacked, where we have by date is showing us that the line total is somewhere below 20 million, and the sum of last year was somewhere below 60 million, and the sum of the unit price is somewhere around 20 million. So again, we're still analyzing 3 pieces of data. It doesn't matter how many pieces of data you want, well, how many pieces of data you want to analyze. You're going to analyze as many as you want. It just gets kind of confusing after 3. But just like with the cluster column, we're able to analyze the stacked column the same way, but they're all stacked on top of each other as opposed to being placed side by side. Now, one thing that I didn't do in the last visual, which in the last lesson, is in this lesson we're going to look at a little formatting. So we're looking here; these are all the standard colors. So what I want to do is I want to change the colors of the line total, unit price, and sales last year. But I want them to have different colors, but I don't want to use the standard, sky blue, royal blue, and orange. So I'm going to highlight the visual. I'm going to come over to our visualization pane. I'm going to select the format icon, and I am going to come down to columns because this is a column. It's a stacked column. I'm going to come down to columns. I am going to, come over to colors. And I'm going to go to apply settings to, it says series. The series means which one of the data that we're trying to analyze. The first one I'm going to say is sum line total. And now we see that it's blue. I'm going to make that this pink color. So all of the sum line total has now turned pink. I'm going to change, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. Basically what I just did was I selected an item, and when you select the item, it shows you it gives you the data for that particular item. And as you can see, because it's interacting with this original column chart, with the original cluster column, the item now is highlighting everything over here that I selected over here. But what I did was I just clicked it again so that nothing is highlighted. So now I'm going to come back over and I want to change my unit price to another color. So I'm going to say format. I'm going to come to, oh, you know what? I have not selected a visual, so I'm at that point I would have been making changes to the actual page as opposed to making changes to the visual. So I highlighted the visual, I came back, I clicked format. Now I'm going to come back over to columns, and I am going to select the series again. It says apply settings to the series. The series we're talking about is unit price. It's royal blue. I want to make that a different color. So I'm going to go, let me back up, let me do it again. I select the color. I'm going to do the down arrow by color. I don't want any of these colors, so I'm going to select more colors. And you can put any color in the hex. If you know a hex color you want to use, or the customer says, or the client says they have a hex color that they use, you would place the hex color right here. I am going to go with one of the green colors, go with that green, and I'm going to click out. It's already changed. And I also want to change the color of the sum of sales last year. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go back to apply settings to sum of sales last year. And the color, I'm going to down arrow and I'm going to select more colors. I want to use a yellow color. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click out. So now my colors have changed from sum of sales last year. Now, another thing we could do is for any visual, we can select the visual, we can select format, and then we can select general. We could select effects, background. Now our current background color is white. So now I am going to change that background color to sky blue, right? So now we've changed the background color to sky blue. This is the way we can format, we can make changes to any visual. We can make changes to any visual. So now our colors here, I don't think these are actually the y-axis colors and the x-axis colors, I don't think they're really black. I think there's some sort of gray. So I'm going to come back to visual, and I'm going to come down to x-axis, and I'm going to say values, and it looks like the values is like a dark gray. I'm going to make that black because I can't really see it very well. And then I'm going to go to my y-axis, and I'm going to change the values color to black as well. And then for my title, I'm going to come over to my title, and I'm going to make my title color white. Well, that's actually on that's actually a title on the y-axis. So I got to come over to general. If I want to do the title for the entire visual, I'm going to come over to general. I'm going to select title. My text color is black, so I'm going to make that white. And we can change the text and all of that inside here. I don't necessarily want to do all of that right now. We can actually change our heading cutter, our headers as well. And the way that we can see what colors are what is we can actually click these three ellipses, click expand categories, and now we can scroll down and we can see what all the colors that are left. So if I wanted to change the title, if I wanted to change the subtitle, I can make those changes there. Border colors, the background color. So now we're seeing all the areas that have different colors. We can just scroll down and we can find those colors real fast, and we can make those changes. I'm not going to go through too much of making those changes, but that gives you an idea of formatting. And again, you can format any visual. So, just for grins and giggles, I'm going to format this visual as well, and I'm going to make that background color to be the same as the back. Now, since we selected this color already, the most recent colors are going to be down here, and now we can just select that blue. And if we want to change the whole page, now we come off of the visuals, select the page. Now we're not selecting one of the visuals. We come back over to the format, and we can say canvas background. We want the canvas background to be the same color, but now it has a transparency at 100%, which means you can see through it 100%, but we can make it lighter or darker, and now we see that it's got an offsetting color, or we can make it the exact same color. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're making visuals. In your reports, you can make this is data visualization. So even though we are data engineers, we're the Power BI developers, part of our job description is we need to make very good looking reports. Very good looking reports. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time in this class understanding color schemes and stuff like that. That's something that you're going to need to research on your own and play with on your own for its color schemes. But at the same time, we do have customers and clients that say, hey, these are the colors we want. This is the background color we want. Boom. So in some cases, most cases, you don't necessarily have to be too creative. But if you're giving free reign, you want your reports to be super nice. Anyway, that is it on our class on column chart on stacked column charts. I thank you for jumping in, and I look forward to seeing you win again in the next video.